Welcome to Mirza and Sons, your one-stop talk for information and entertainment. I'm Cameron.
I'm Assad.
And today we're going to be talking about a business concept which I've heard my dad over here talk about and train people on a bunch, which is value-added versus non-value-added. And so what is it what do these terms mean, a value-added versus non-value-added?
Yeah, these are very common terms that are used in the Lean and Six Sigma environment, operational excellence environment, where the idea behind it is that we consider the activities that actually transform a product, that add some sort of value to a product that customer is willing to pay for. That's on a very simplistic level, but that's the fundamental idea behind it, is that if the customer is willing to pay for it, we would consider that a value added, okay? And if the customer is not willing to pay for it, then we will consider that a non-value added activity. And since people don't have the guts to make that type of determination, so we have diluted this concept even further, and where we have added this thing, what we call business value added, okay, which really, end of the day, all that is trying to make some people feel good, so they don't feel like what they're doing doesn't add any value. So that's where the fundamental concept comes from.
So that's really interesting, because so it's entirely based off of the subjective value in the situation. It's based on what you determine as valuable versus not valuable, rather than basing it off of how you can then redirect these forces.
Yeah, no, that's very true. So there is the financial side of it. So there is the economics. So the value added term also exists in finance, okay? And that is pretty straightforward, which is, okay, how much raw material you're putting in there, how much effort you're putting in there, resources you're putting in there. So you can quantify all those and say, oh, here's how much value I have added to this raw material, and then I'm going to slap some sort of a margin on top of it, and I'm going to go sell it to someone. So that is, the mechanical calculation of value add is there, but the problem is that in real life, okay, in real operations, business is far more complex, okay? This is where it becomes muddy. This is where it becomes challenging for a lot of people, which is, okay, person A versus person B, how do you know that this guy is adding value and this guy is not adding value? So a lot of time you see people that they take on this very simplistic view of, oh, if this person is transforming the product somehow, I have even used myself, and I have heard this fit, form, function type of thought process. If one of those three or all those three things are happening, someone is actually doing those, then that must be value added work. Everybody else, they are non-value added. So then you even hear sometimes these bullshit, bogus statistics thrown out there that, only 2%, 5% of the entire work that is done, the activity that is done, is value added. Those are all good consulting gimmick type of nonsense. Real life, real operations, real businesses are far more complex. So in a realistic way, if you really think about it, is to me, the time has come that we need to just get rid of these terms. Something is value added, or if something is non-value added, because these are such outdated concepts. If you think about these concepts, they trace back to some of the work Frederick Taylor did in the late 1800s and early 1900s when he was publishing and writing his book, Scientific Management, and then it goes back to Ford's assembly line and everything else. They were great, brilliant, fantastic ideas back then. Got it, okay. But in 2020, life is different. Life is looked at a whole different way. So I don't think that we should be thinking about just in a very simplistic way of value added or non-value added. I think the conversation now needs to go more towards, in my opinion, impact and effectiveness. So I now, when I look at processes, operations, organizations, I'm more interested in effectiveness and impact versus just using this very, very rudimentary, very, very simplistic way of thinking if something is value added or not.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting though, because like even at the time of Frederick Taylor, correct? That was his name?
Yep.
Even at the time of Frederick Taylor, there were critiques of that idea, which is really funny. Even with Lincoln being a very famous, the 16th president, being a very famous detractor from that idea, thinking that all labor, all transforming of materials, whether immediately seen in benefit or not, were valuable. And even then, similarly to Lincoln, there was the critique of that it is an almost inhumane way of practice, because you're the one who fired them, and in saying that they are not providing value after you're the one who put them in that position, where you then created their problem, and then you will continue to create problems for them by firing them, because then that's revenue lost for the family, that's revenue lost for them, and you are transforming their life based on your mistake.
You're calling it out.
Yeah.
This corporate corporate practice. Okay, so I have heard this many times, and to be perfectly honest with you, I have been guilty of this myself, and I'm realizing that how destructive and naive thinking this is, which is, well, I'm not critiquing, or I am not calling a person non-value added. I'm talking about the activity, the work, that's non-value added, right? So this whole notion of that work and human are separate, that's such a garbage way of thinking, because we spend, actually, if you think about it, we spend more time working than not working.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is just our way. A lot of time, I'm as guilty as anybody else as managers, executives. That's your way of kind of justifying your own mistakes, justifying your own limited thinking, so you can feel good about yourself that no, I was not going after a person or a position. I was really going after the activity.
Yeah. It's a crazy idea, because humans are one of the only species. So labor and humanity, or the ability to do work and humanity, are two completely linked items. We are the only species that is capable of truly transforming nature to see our vision. I mean,
very much so.
Even apes who can use tools, they can't transform them.
Yeah.
They just use them in their original form, like using a rock. We are the only things that can truly work and transform. So that the entire idea of us being separate from work is ridiculous, honestly, like you said. And as you said again, it is truly just a way to make the managers and execs who made a poor decision feel good about themselves.
Yeah. Well, I want to leave it at a positive note.
Yeah.
And the positive note, the message that if I can share with people is really let's throw this value added, non-value added stuff out the window, no longer applicable. Let's start measuring ourselves more from effectiveness and impact.
Mm-hmm. So how would that be implemented then? Like that's hypothetical situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if I'm thinking about impact and effectiveness,
Mm-hmm.
then it's going to require actually one fundamental thing that where most organizations and most leaders struggle with, and that is, what's the purpose? What is the end goal that you're trying to go after? Most of the time it's not even clear. So then, as you said earlier, then this whole concept of value added and non-value added, then it just becomes a float. Versus if I know what my purpose, what my objective is, what I'm trying to, as an organization, what our vision is, what we're trying to get to, then it's a lot easier to measure ourselves. Doesn't matter if whatever your job is, you're the CEO or if you are a custodian, doesn't matter what your job is, then I have a much easier way to see, okay, all of these roles and responsibilities and activities that are happening, how are they being impactful towards that nirvana, towards that vision, towards that purpose? Because as long as we can show that linkage, as long as we can show that progression, then we can have that honest conversation and say, okay, yep, this is, all of these activities, all of this work that is happening, it is taking us in that direction. And then I can also have the honest conversation of the things that are not taking us there. Then we can have the conversation of how do I get rid of those? Because they are not taking me towards my purpose, towards my vision. Okay. Now here's another thing. A lot of time, if you really think about it, it's much easier to talk about a person that is working on the line. Okay. It's a lot easier to measure them. Okay. Because you can see what the throughput per minute is, per hour is, per day is. Doesn't matter. It's a lot easier. How do you measure someone that is in HR? Okay. How do you measure that person working, in marketing? How do you measure a person that is, our finance or controller? Now, there is a little bit harder. You can say, that they're going to, how many reports they're publishing or, analysis they're doing, whatever, right? But they're actually not doing anything to the product.
Yeah, it throws the value added versus non-value added.
Versus if I go to and start having the conversation about effectiveness, if I start to have conversation about impact, then I can go and say, okay, how is this HR resource enabling us achieving that vision, that purpose? Okay, then I can see how effective they are of helping us hire the right people that share the visions, share the passion, share the purpose. Okay, how good are they at holding on to the talent? How good are they of building the talent? Okay, then those are the kind of things, if they are doing those things, and I know that, okay, they are impactful, they're effective because they are contributing towards that vision, towards that purpose. So that's why, I believe that this is time for us to switch the thinking. Let's go towards effectiveness. Let's go towards the impact conversation versus this whole value added, non-value added nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a much better measure personally. I mean, it does two things very well. One, it properly actually would then incentivize genuine work versus bullshit bureaucracy positions of just let's push papers. Pushing papers doesn't always do what's necessary. Sometimes you have to avoid bureaucracy to get things done right. But not only that, it would increase job security overall. Because in a situation of value added versus non-value added, all the essentially what's being done is blame is being transferred, whereas in an effectiveness versus what was it again? It was effectiveness
And impact.
An impact model. You then wind up having to reflect on those who are making the decisions. That's a really great way to just overall better the workplace, just in general.
Yeah, and I think the other benefit of that is going to be I do believe that it will promote trust. Okay, because trust is one of the main factors that, believe it or not, enables a company to achieve excellence. Okay, because when you have honest conversation with people, even though they may be uncomfortable conversations, but you earn their respect, you earn their trust. Okay? Versus if you try to, downplay it, or if you try to somehow make it more mechanical than it needs to be, calling something value added, non-value added, all of that, then eventually you start to lose that respect and you start to lose that trust. And then that's the beginning of dismantling of any organization. It's just a matter of time before you're done.
So when you refer to trust, we're referring to the trust between the average worker and the management team? Is that what we're referring to? Or also between managers and different departments and stuff like that?
Well, as a whole.
As a whole?
Yeah. Because, first of all, this whole thing of trust between the organization and the person. Okay, there is no such thing as organization without the people.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can label it any way we want. End of the day, we are talking about people.
Well,
okay?
Yeah, because the organization is it's an abstract.
Exactly, it's just an abstract concept.
Yeah.
That a collective few have decided to create something or be part of something.
Yeah.
So, but end of the day, fundamentally, we are talking about people. So the trust has to be, up, down, sideways, all around.
Yeah.
That's the only way you are successful, when there is that trust. Okay, and I personally believe that this conversation of effectiveness, impact, actually can promote this trust.
I think that could even apply to personal life, honestly.
Of course.
Because, think about how many people are judge themselves based off of, like if you're in school, judging yourself based off of just a single grade or something like that, rather than like analyzing what you're actually bringing to the table in the classroom and stuff like that. Or like judging an individual based off of maybe how many things they put through versus the quality that they're putting through.
Well, absolutely. What you're referring to is, and I think that's a separate conversation that we need to have sometime, is we are so obsessed with results that we don't pay any attention to the means, the process of getting those results.
Yeah, and if we could, sorry, you can.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say if we can focus on those means, then any failure that occurs, it's no longer a failure. That failure can then become a future win.
It can be, but like I said, we're gonna make a separate video. The problem is that it puts most of the managers in a very uncomfortable spot, where you're actually truly asking them to be leaders. Most people don't want they like the title, they like the word of leaders.
Yeah.
Okay, but I guarantee you, most of the managers that I meet, most of the executives that I work with, okay, maybe 1 or 2% of are actually leaders. The rest of them are just managers. Okay, they just like that word. Oh, I'm a leader, but they don't. Most of them are fundamentally missing the characteristics of a leader.
Well, it's like what
and as a business, as a consultant, I'm making that statement out there. I know it's going to piss a lot of people off, but I am who I am.
That's just who. I mean, yeah, you don't. Sugarcoating is sort of a lot of what this conversation is about. Is it is unnecessary to hide behind nice words. Just say what you're thinking
Yep,
and be out there.
Yep.
Everybody's going to appreciate that. Even if you upset them, you can learn so much more from it.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? So I think we should ask our viewers that they should share their thoughts. This is just how we are thinking,
Yeah.
but there are many other ways of thinking about this concept of value added, non-value added, and this idea that we're promoting right now, effectiveness and impact. Use those methods, those words, to actually, to me, those are more aligned with the 21st century, not 20th.
That was last 100 years.
Gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it. Okay, and we should ask them.
So we're asking all of you for a 20-page essay by next week
Oh.
on how you analyze this topic.
All right. So I guess we will see you guys next time. Definitely, seriously, share your thoughts.
Yeah.
Tell us what you think about this whole value-added, non-value, if that concept is still valid, versus what we are proposing, effectiveness and impact.
And it doesn't have to be 20 pages. 19 is fine.
Yeah, one sentence comment will be great.
Oh, okay, that's fine too,
That's
yeah.
all I can read. See you guys next time.